We're a small operation. We don't fall into the jurisdiction of the Empire.
So you're part of the mining guild then?
No, not actually. Our operation is small enough not to be noticed, which is advantageous for everybody since our customers are anxious to avoid attracting attention to themselves.
Aren't you afraid the Empire is going to find out about this little operation? Shut you down?
It's always been a danger, but it looms like a shadow over everything we've built here. But things have developed that'll ensure security. I've just made a deal that'll keep the Empire out of here forever.
Tony Dee Williams, today on Pop Goes the Culture. Hi, I'm David Levin, and this is another high-flying episode of Pop Goes the Culture. Today, we continue my talk with the one and only Billy Dee Williams. I wanted to know how he landed the part of Lando Calrissian in Star Wars.
Well, of course, Lando Calrissian was not just a romantic, dashing figure. He was a black swashbuckler. I mean,
yeah, but see, that's the other thing. Whenever I approached any situation, I never thought in terms of. I wanted to go beyond this whole idea of ethnicity. Mm-hmm. I think that my whole life has been a very eclectic life, and in fact, there are some more, and I don't usually tell people this, but especially black people. I always think of myself as an Oreo cookie, but because I've had my experiences have been eclectic experiences.
Right.
Right. Since I was a child.
I interviewed Louis Gossett yesterday, and one thing that's striking about the parts that you guys have played on occasion is that they didn't require necessarily a black man in the role.
Right, and that's it's fun that's when you have the fun. I once said to my daughter, I live in a gray area, and she says, "Daddy, you can't live in a gray area." And I said, "Well, let me try to explain." I said, "I see myself as the full spectrum of colors. I can't seem to get myself involved with this point of view, extreme point of view, as opposed to this extreme point of view. I'm this person sort of is looking at borrowing from both sides and adding a lot of other things into the mixture. But I think once you start living your life in that way, it seems to me that's when, as an artist especially, that's when you start having a lot of fun. Same with my painting. You see my paintings, I rarely talk about the whole ethnic experience. It's not something, because I see my life has been so much more than that. And I can't seem to adhere to I can't politicize my life in that way, really. So anyway.
Seems like you're having a good life, though.
Yeah, I've had a very good life. I can't complain. I complain a lot, but I really can't. I think about it, I really can't complain very much.
How did the Star Wars connection happen? I understand that you were actually up for Han Solo originally. Is that true?
No, I think George was thinking about, originally Han Solo was supposed to be a black man. But he decided to go in the other direction. But I think because of Darth Vader, I think he was getting a lot of flack about that. And I think he decided to bring, Lando in because he had to make it very clear that Darth Vader was not representative of black people. But it was a dark energy, dark force, and so he brought the character Lando into the situation. But again, I didn't want to play Lando as a black man. I wanted to play him because he was like this guy out in space somewhere. He's a part of the future, and I think I would imagine that the future is not going to be about black people, white people. We're going to go past that kind of thinking.
I hope so. Well, how did you get the part? How did that sort of happen?
Well, Irv Kirshner, they wanted me to. I met with Irv Kirshner. He came to my house. That's one of those few moments when you can have the director and the producers come to your house, and talk about the role.
You kind of know you might have the part at that point.
Yeah, right. But anyway, Irv, he came to my house and we sat and talked. And I had years ago, back in the '60s, I was very much involved with Buddhism and Eastern and European Western philosophy and stuff like that. And he's very much into Buddhism and Eastern philosophy. So we sat and talked about a lot of that, and so we had a really nice relationship. I was really very happy to work with him. To me, like Empire Strikes Back is the best of all of especially the first three. But he is quite an exceptional human being.
Had you watched had you seen Star Wars prior to doing the movie?
I think I did see it. Yeah, I did see it. Yeah, but I always liked George. I was always curious about George Lucas and what he was doing. Because I had seen a few things. There was one particular movie, that THX.
1138.
Yeah, that I was really impressed with that movie, and I said, "Wow, who is this guy?" But at that time, you had all of these people like Coppola, you had Scorsese, you had Cimino, you had Spielberg. You had this whole new movement of filmmakers that were really changing everything, which I found very interesting.
And whatever happened to those guys?
They're all big and rich and famous, and probably, I would imagine, when you have that kind of success, you're always, I remember hearing a story about Picasso, and when he had success, he would always find himself going back to the old haunts, because that it sort of energized him. And I would imagine that when you have a lot of success and you've made a lot of movies, like George now. I think he's very happy that all of this is past him now. So he can now. I think the last time I talked to him, he was talking about doing a lot of small movies. So I think you kind of want to get back to some of those feelings that you had when you were struggling.
Basic. Yeah, I talked to some of the folks who were on American Graffiti, which they shot in 29 days, for $750,000.
You're right.
And he goes on to do Star Wars,
Right.
Like, talk about the extent of the...
Well, there's a lot to be said about the whole immediacy of an experience, I think,
How long were you on Star Wars for?
Oh, God, Jesus, forever.
Long shoot?
Yeah, we were in London, I think, it was 4 months in London, 4 or 5 months each time.
Pre-digital days.
Yeah. That's a very strange feeling, leaving, being a resident of the United States and then going off to a place for 4 or 5 months. I mean, it's like you feel so displaced, you're not quite, it's a really strange feeling. But it was a fun feeling, and it was very interesting, and I had a ball.
Do your own stunts?
I did, yeah, I did. I always liked doing my own to a great degree. I like doing my own stuff,
What was the atmosphere like on the set? Some sets are very locked down, some sets are a little bit loose. I mean, what was it creatively?
Well, I remember we were shooting out in Arizona, the Return of the Jedi, and out there in the desert, and the company was called Blue Harvest Company, but everybody in the world knew what was going on. I mean, people were flying airplanes over the set. I mean, what I find really interesting about the whole Star Wars experience is that the fans, they know more than you know. You're an actor in the movie. I mean, and I think, as I recall, we never got a full script, as I recall. But the fans knew I don't know it's amazing to me.
Pre-internet.
Yeah, I guess. This is pre-internet, yeah.
Wow. So, since then you've been to fan conventions and things like that. What was that experience? The first time you went to one, did you know what to expect? I mean, sort of take me through that experience.
Well, I think, somebody said, do they have a living? Who was it?
A life.
A life. Yeah.
William Shatner.
William Shatner said that. Yeah. Do they have these people have a life? He's a very funny man, that guy. But I wasn't so well, that unkind. But he, I found that a lot of those people are really okay people. They're wonderful people, and they're not like really crazy people. I mean, they're just fans. They're just fans. You know, they'll dress up, and they have jobs. They have a life, but they're just huge fans.
I love it.
You know, it's great. Listen, it's wonderful that there are people like that out there to support the industry.
Keep you in business.
Yeah, absolutely. People used to listen more, but everybody wants to participate now. I mean, that's where we're at right now, which is very interesting.
Very democratic, I think. You know, it doesn't cost as much to make. People making movies themselves these days. It's
Democratic. That's a very interesting word these days.
well, you don't need to. You don't need a big. You don't need a lot of money to break in now. You can have a video camera. Have you done any independent films? Have you done any small?
Yeah. I just finished. I just got through doing that not too long ago, about a year ago. A movie called Constellation, a young filmmaker that I worked with before, Jordan Walker Perlman. We did a movie called The Visit, and I was nominated for that, his movie, and I was also nominated for the Independent Spirit Awards.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
And the Constellation, I think he said he told me it should be coming out in August.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Very interesting movie. He's a very interesting filmmaker. You know, we have a very, very good relationship. In fact, we want to do some more stuff together.
Oh, that's great.
But I'm going to work with a young filmmaker. I think that on the 24th of this month. Barry Monday, the movie's called.
What do you know it's about?
Yeah, it's about this guy who's in a dilemma, like most young guys are in a dilemma about their life and where they're going and their relationships. You know, only this one has lost his testicles, so.
So.
But it's a fun movie. I think it's a very good. It's a dark comedy, and I think it's going to be a very good movie.
You've done a lot of guest shots on a lot of shows.
Mhm.
And occasionally, you've actually played yourself, haven't you?
Yeah. Which is always very interesting, I guess.
What were the two? Was the one was the Jeffersons? Do you remember doing the Jeffersons?
Oh yeah. Well, there again, being the romantic matinee idol, everybody was looking to tout that whole situation.
So what was the storyline behind that for the folks who haven't seen it?
I think almost everybody's seen it. I keep running into people all the time who says, "Oh, I remember you on the Jeffersons, and you were just so wonderful." And what's her name? She was Marla Gibbs was carrying on about you, and then they would. They even knew some of the dialogue that was on in that particular sequence, but and I never remember any of the dialogue.
And then also 227 you did, right? With
227.
Hey Harry.
Yeah.
Remember that one at all?
Vaguely.
Vaguely.
Yeah.
She remembers it very well.
Mm.
Diane Carroll told us a story about when you went and did Dynasty. Do you remember doing?
Oh yeah, that was another one. That was a big moment for the Spelling Company. Yeah, that was a lot of fun working with her.
Do you remember the bath scene with her?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, I thought I was I was worried about my weight, and I remember, I think I slipped and splashed in the water, and it got a big chuckle out of everybody, even myself.
She lost her top during that scene.
Did she?
She said she popped her top during that scene.
Oh, I don't remember that.
You think, that would be something to remember, but...
That I don't remember. I think I was more concerned. That's the other thing too, is that, when people start telling you how good looking you are, I mean, you find yourself more, the actor's there, but it's not so much about the other actor. It's more about how you're looking and how you're conducting yourself. It turns into that whole kind of thing.
Did it change the way you acted for a while?
I think it probably does. Yeah, it would have to, actually. You start parodying yourself, that's what happens. You start it's like looking in a mirror when you're acting, and that's no way to act.
Well, they say that it's the old expression, how does an actor change a light bulb? They hold it still and the world revolves around them.
That's good. I got to remember that one.
I figured I could tell you that one. I can't tell everybody that one because they would go, what do you mean? But I figured you would know what I was talking about.
That's good. I like that.
Well, that's all the time we've got for today. Next time we conclude our talk with Billy Dee Williams. Turns out he wants to be a comedy star. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Ouch! Ooh.